Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our next live stream. I'll be your producer for this session. Before we start, I do have some quick housekeeping. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. While we absolutely encourage engagement in the chat, we ask that you please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional, and on topic. Keep an eye on that chat. We'll be dropping helpful links and checking for questions for our presenters to answer live. Our session is being recorded. It will be available to view on demand right here on the Reactor channel. With that, I'd love to turn it over to our speakers for today. Thank you for joining.
Right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Josh.
Yeah, so thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us today. Just tell us where you're joining us from. And for the next 40 to 1 hour, we're going to spend time with you talking about SQL and AI, some of the interesting features around AI inside of SQL. And beyond that, we'll just see how you can use some of these tools and some of the capabilities within SQL and AI to build your next intelligent applications. My name is Josh. I'm a cloud developer advocate here at Microsoft for the data advocacy team. And with me today is Matt. Matt, you have to introduce yourself.
Can do. Yeah, I'm Director of Data and Analytics at Lean Techniques. And I've been doing a lot of work in the SQL and AI space for a while. So it's cool. It's easy to miss some of the new stuff. So I'm glad we get this time to walk people through it and then show them how to actually play with it and maybe win some stuff.
Awesome. And this session is part of the kickoff for the SQL and AI Promptathon, which is a contest as part of the data days. And the SQL and AI Promptathon, you can access that from the link on your screen or scan the QR code on your screen. And basically, this serves as the kickoff for the SQL and AI Promptathon. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the contest as part of today's live stream. But beyond talking about the contest, we'll share more about the different AI features alongside within SQL Server 2025. And beyond that, we're going to try do a live demo, show you how you can create or how you can access the contest, how you can do the various missions that we've prepared, or bring your own mission and show you the whole end-to-end workflow for the same. So before we get started, just a quick background for anyone who's joining us today for the first time on the Data Days. So Data Days is a learning event, and this is going to be a shared experience. And so you can join various we have various learning opportunities. We also have challenges, and we have data professionals from all around the world that are coming together to actually build solutions, to learn, to create, and also to grow. And we'd love to hear on the charts whether you've actually been participating so far, or this is the first time you're joining us. Now. What do you expect from Data Days? You're gonna be having live learning sessions like today. We will have part of this is gonna be a learning session, but you get to learn alongside the community. Topics around Microsoft Fabric, SQL, data engineering, data science, and AI, and you have different sessions that you have experts from Microsoft and from the ecosystem that actually come and help you get started. You also get some certification opportunities. So this becomes an opportunity for you to take your next step in your journey to get certified and also earn industry recognized credentials at discounted rates. You also get an opportunity to learn together with the community, and the community helps you stay on track, prepare for your certification exam. So this is supposed to be fun for everyone who is joining us. So please join and participate in the Data Days. As part of the Data Days, we actually have contests and hands-on challenges, and the SQL and AI Promptathon is actually one of the contests that we are running as part of the Data Days contest. So go to aka.ms/dd/create to learn more about the various contests and hands-on challenges that we have. Then the other thing we do have is we have user panels that are also running as part of the data days. And I really encourage you to join the user panel that most resonates with you. And if you're joining us for this session, I would really encourage you as well to join through the SQL user panel. The links to join these various user panels are on your screen, or you can also go ahead and scan the QR code to get started. And as I also mentioned, as part of the data days, you're getting an opportunity to get certified across the various certification exams, and we have sessions, SQL and AI sessions, and that are actually running in various time zones. And I would really encourage you to join in some of these sessions. You can see the top sessions that are highlighted. These are the SQL and AI certifications, and I would really encourage you, if you're looking forward to getting certified, to actually join in some of these sessions. Now, this is supposed to be an interactive session. Martin, myself, are gonna be here running through the content that we've prepared for you. We'll go through a couple of slides. We'll switch over to the browser and also try to get these running hands-on. But on the chat, we have our awesome moderators who are joining us there. So if you have any questions, Matt and I will receive some questions that we can actually go ahead and answer live, but also our awesome moderators are going to be on chat answering your questions. So we have Jeff. Jeff is on the chat. He's one of our moderators. We have Mike as well, who is on the chat as a moderator, and we have Pav as well. So please, if you have any questions, please drop them on chat, and we'll try to answer them as we continue. Now, to get started, I'm gonna just mention what we're gonna cover for today. So what we'll cover today, I'm gonna go through, rather cover the contest overview just to help you understand more about the contest today. Once we've covered some good depth around the contest, the next step, Matt is also going to help out covering some of the AI in SQL Server 2025. Then I'll come back and do some demos and also show you how to do your contest submission. So we're going to spend time around these three things just to help you get started with the contest. And I'm hoping to see most of you beginning submissions in the coming next days. So to get started, Matt, maybe you can kick us off in terms of why should anyone participate in the SQL Promptathon?
For sure, yeah, because you might be sitting out there saying, "Well, do I really want to add stuff to my plate?" You do, because this is a really good way not only to boost your SQL skills, but kind of a fuller understanding of what Azure SQL, SQL Server 2025, and all that, what their AI abilities are. So, like it says, you can build apps with SQL and AI that you can share publicly. I know sometimes, it's a challenge because a lot of us that have worked in data, we may not have that kind of portfolio that a lot of our app dev. A good way to kind of start building that, which can be handy these days. You can get inspired from other people. You're going to see what their ideas are. If you're struggling to come up with one, you can go look at theirs and see if maybe that sparks something for you. You can win swag. We've not been told exactly what it is, but we have been told it's very good. So everybody likes swag. Bragging rights are always fun. So if you outdo one of your peers, that can always be fun to remind them of often. And it's a way to kind of get your name and your work out there. The job environment is not always the best. So any way that we can all do that sometimes is very handy. And all this stuff is fun to play with too.
Exactly. And owing to the fact that most of us are busy, we kind of have a busy schedule, sometimes keeping up with everything that is happening around AI and all the latest announcements around these tools, sometimes it's hard. And I think this is a perfect opportunity to as well keep up with that, learn what other people are doing, just do something with other people outside your day-to-day environment as well. Awesome. So how do you participate in the SQL and AI Promptathon? So
okay,
and yeah.
Yeah, so obviously hit that link down there at the bottom. I think it may be pinned in the chat as well, and I think it may occasionally scroll along the bottom of your screen too. But so you go to the GitHub repo for this, which the demo will kind of show us how to do this as a sample. Check out the README there, and then that's going to go over missions and all of that. You can then select the mission that kind of best fits your role or the role that you may want to have. Go ahead and read the mission brief there, create a code space. And again, we're going to walk through all of this later on. Connect to the sample SQL database if you want. Read the contest rules carefully. We don't want to break any rules. Make sure you review the judging criteria as well. You want to make sure you're kind of doing what the judges are looking for, because like we said, the swag is cool. So we want to make sure that the judges pick ours. And then from there, you start building stuff. When you've got it in a state where you'd like to kind of show it off, there's going to be a checklist that kind of shows you how to submit this. And then obviously the final step is submit and see how you do. All right. So what tools are you going to use? So some of these may be new, especially if you've kind of been a long time Management Studio adherent. You may see a couple things on here and say, well, I've heard of notebooks, but I haven't played with them. This is a really good opportunity to do just that. You may not be familiar with GitHub CodeSpaces as well. This is a great way to kind of learn what those are and how cool those are. If you can't think of any other reason to enter this, just learning what those are and how we can use those as tools is very handy, which is what the demo will walk us through. So GitHub CodeSpaces, SQL database, obviously the SQL MCP server. It's a good way to get familiar with that, understand what those are, how to talk to them, how to get them to do stuff. I did mention notebooks. Notebooks are fantastic. So if you're coming to this from like a data engineering background, probably you know what those are. If you're not coming from that background, you might not. So definitely hang out for the next hour, watch the demo, learn what all these are and kind of how they work together. And then 5 and 6. So we're going to go into some detail here next on what vectors and embeddings are and what SQL's abilities are around those. It's good to have at least a basic understanding of what those are as we get into the different missions, and then understand kind of what custom skills and what assets you can build here that you can reuse. And that's where the MCP server is going to come into play and things like that. All right, this is important stuff. When does it start? Today. This is the start. So it starts now. All entries are due July 24th, so you've got about a month. The winner's been announced July 31st. So when you dive into these, you'll kind of want to keep those last two dates in mind, and don't do what I tend to do and wait too long to start. So once you've kind of sat through this, that can, tonight might be a great time to get started. All right. So what are the judging criteria? Again, we're not going to go into too much depth here because you're able to read more on this at that link and in the README that goes through all of this. But you're basically judged on these 6 things. How did the mission come out? Did you do what you were supposed to? What did your multi-term prompting strategy look like? Your use of the SQL MCP tools, that the contest is fun, but it's also a way to kind of modernize these skills that probably a lot of us haven't had time to play with all of this. And this will kind of push you into doing just that. You'll be judged on the quality of the artifacts you put out, the different skills and stuff like that. Reasoning and transparency as well. So how, not only what the outcome is, but how did your prompting strategy and everything get it there? And then obviously insight and creativity as well. Was it an intriguing way to do it? Was it fun, clever, all that stuff? So, really don't feel like you're in a box, because because you're not. You can tackle this a whole bunch of different ways.
Awesome.
All right.
Yep. And I think, Matt, I can just pause here just because we know we've talked so much about, the content and the repo. Why don't I just jump onto my browser, show them the repo quickly, and then come and talk about all the awesome things that
Perfect.
we in SQL 2025, all the AI features. So everything in regards to the contest, you can access it from this repo. So this is the repo to the contest, and everything that Matt has covered, you can find all the instructions right here. So we have the various missions that you can actually complete. So these missions have been structured in the form of either a data analyst, a data engineer, and a data scientist. And we're going to go through these in a lot more details. But this is the place you want to learn if you need to learn about everything in regards to the contest. Get started from the README, go through the README, try to understand how to set up everything. You can run these on a CodeSpace. We're going to show you how. You can run these locally. We're going to show you how. And then finally, you can go ahead and submit. You can go ahead and submit your submission once you've picked a mission or you've brought in your own mission. And as Matt mentioned, it's not just about getting the final answer right. It's about showing us your journey. Which models did you use? What challenges did you encounter when you're trying to solve this particular problem? So if you need to learn anything about the Promptathon, this is the repo you need to go to, and the link is on the chart as well, and you can be able to get there and get started. So enough about the contest. Matt, why don't you walk us next on the AI features in SQL Server 2025? Because I think people need to know this so that they can easily get started with with the contest as well.
Yep. Before I do that, let's so we mentioned we've got 3 awesome moderators in the chat. Let's try to keep them busy. And one thing we're curious about, because I think we've got people coming from a lot of different data backgrounds here, is what's your experience with Copilot chat in GitHub CodeSpaces? So not just Copilot to ask it what the weather is going to be or what you should make for dinner or something like that, but specifically in CodeSpaces themselves. We're curious how that comes out to see if people are kind of brand new to this stuff or we've got some experienced folks here. And I believe Fabric Pam posted that in the chat in case you want to find it there. But let's answer there. But while you're answering that, we're going to talk about the AI features in SQL Server 2025. Obviously there's a lot of noise around Fabric, and 2025 came out last fall. It's pretty awesome. But so some of this stuff probably has flown under the radar just because there's so much new stuff. So I kind of like to start this stuff here because I've had at my local user group and things like that, the exact conversation that this slide covers. It's like, why do I care that there's vector support in SQL? I already have a vector database over here, or SQL isn't the best one. Somebody will come and say, well, it's not best of breed in terms of performance and speed at churning through this stuff. That may very well be true. But what you already have is you already have SQL. You've already secured it. You're already backing it up. You already probably understand how to govern it because everybody's data stays fully governed and all that. But SQL's been a part of your infrastructure for some time, so you're not having to reinvent the wheel there. So having the vector support there means that a database that your developers are probably already interacting with can now do stuff that they used to have to go elsewhere for. And for those of us on the operational side of the house, I don't have to figure out how to license something else. I don't have to keep another environment running. I don't have to secure it. So I think it's important to kind of understand why the vector support came to SQL in the first place. So there's kind of 3 main things we're going to hit on here. Obviously, the new data type vector, it's a brand new type to SQL. In a way, you'll see what we mean here in a second. There are some specific AI functions that make generating embeddings and chunking big chunks of text easier. And then vector search as well. It's all well and good if we can create this stuff, how does that help our search? What does it really do for us? Because our app devs may come to us asking something, and if we don't kind of understand this part of the support, we may not give them exactly what they're asking for. Okay, so what have we got here? So we've got this new type. You can see in the code sample off to the right, basically an example of what that looks like. So just to kind of go through what this is, it's not, as it says, it's not stored in blobs. It's not offloaded to some storage. It's a native type that sits next to your data. It's not an example I like to use is, for those of us that might remember, like when XML support came to SQL the first time, it was a native type and some of that, but some of the like tooling and functions around it never really matured to the point that we would have liked. Vector does not have that issue here. So not only can we set kind of the size of the vectors, there's also optimized storage for this. So it's not just, hey, we came up with a type, but we didn't really optimize for this particular data. We've just kind of glued it on to the end. It's surfaced as a JSON array to us, but it's optimized on the back end. So the performance even out of the box is pretty nice. And like it says, it's pure T-SQL as well. So if you're seeing this, or if you read some of the marketing stuff around it and you're like, oh man, I already have to learn so much, I don't want to have to go learn a new language. You don't have to. This is T-SQL. It plays nicely with all of it. Yeah, there's some new T-SQL stuff for us to call, but we don't have to relearn all this new stuff. Okay, so what have we got here? So a lot of times when I give a session on this, I get a lot of questions of, hey, I'm fully on-prem, can I do this? Or my company is in a highly regulated industry, I can't access cloud resources, or I'm extremely locked down on what I can and can't get to. One of the cool things about this, and one of the things I really appreciate that the team thought through, is that, SQL servers live in all kinds of environments. Some are extremely locked down, some are wide open. And so we're able to use the AI model that best fits with our processes and rules and all of those. So yes, we can point this at a cloud hosted model. You've got a short list there. It supports many, many more. Or if you're sitting there and say, my SQL server is not allowed to call out to anything, I need that model to be local, you can do that too. So there's a ton of flexibility in what you're able to do that kind of fits. I mean, I've been in consulting 11 years. I think this kind of fits every scenario I've ever seen, from the wild, wild west to, extremely locked down. We've also got, so not only do we have a wide choice of models, but we do have a couple new functions that probably are new to you. So we've got AI generate embeddings, which will produce the vectors directly. And again, this is just T-SQL, and you can see that example there. We'll get into this a little more later as well. And then a common question I always get is, okay, well, I've got a lot of text that I need to generate embeddings from. How do I chunk that? How do I break that down into consumable parts? And so there's AI generate chunks that helps us do that as well. And Josh, I feel like I might have just talked over you. Go ahead.
No. I have a question right here. So you're trying to say, like, if I already have a table that has my existing data, let's say it has reviews data from some of my customers, I can easily go ahead and add a new column and be able to do this directly from within my SQL database. That's exactly what you're trying to say.
Yes. Yeah. So I think an example that a lot of us can kind of understand is, let's say you've got a database of product reviews or restaurant reviews or something like that. You've got all this text, and sure, there's been ways to get sentiment out of it and do some other AI stuff around that, but it's never been native to SQL. For something like this, we can create embeddings for all of that, and then the results that comes back to somebody searching for a review for a product or a restaurant or something like that, it can not only be a much richer set, but it has a better chance of coming back to them, like if they've misspelled something. Like there's a lot of different types of food, and a lot of us have not been able to travel everywhere and know how to spell everything in every language and all of that. So we may remember we ate something, and we may kind of remember how to say it. Well, if I'm using T-SQL before this, I can't write in a quality that's like, well, it sounded like this. Generating embeddings from data we already have allows us to kind of do that. Like, I remember kind of how it was spelled. And if there's semantic similarity, then this is going to pull that back, where good old T-SQL without vector support wouldn't have a way to do that. We can debate offline or in the chat about SoundX, but basically it didn't do that well. Okay, so what have we got here? So we've got, and this is probably about as deep nerdy as we're going to get here. You've got two different options here. So we've got what's generally available, and you can search these terms if you really want to go deep into the academics of it. Let's say what is embedded now is vector distance. So without going too deep on this, essentially what we're trying to do is calculate the distance between 2 points in multi-dimensional space. That's as nerdy as I'll get. The closer it is, the more semantically similar it is. And so vector distance is doing that. As you might imagine, though, this stuff computationally is pretty expensive. So what we have right now that's GA is basically it's calculating that distance exactly. What's in preview, and if you saw some of the announcements at SQLCon this spring, there were some actual performance numbers that were published by the team that goes into how much faster this is. But we've gone from like the exact distance to ANN, which stands for approximate nearest neighbor. So it's not guessing, but it's doing a computationally much less expensive thing to get the results that are nearly as good, is basically the simplest way that I can put that. Do you feel like I left anything out there, Josh, or is there anything you want to add?
No, not really. But I think just to also provide some context, and this is something I would really want to see someone trying out with the data we have in the Promptathon. We do have we have a table that has vector embeddings for various customer support charts and also review product reviews. And some of these are in different languages. So some are in English, some are in French, and some are in Spanish. And what I'm hearing you trying to say is, I can easily try to figure out which of these are similar to each other without needing for me to really do the translation fast across all these languages.
Yeah, to some extent, that's true. But yeah, so I think the thing to take away from all this, especially if it's getting later in the day where you are and you're like, all right, this is getting a good bit mathy. I don't want any more math. It's just to think about the semantic similarity between things. That dog and puppy are quite similar. Dog and cat are not that similar. I have one of both. But dog and cat are more similar than, let's say, dog and orange. So it's just thinking about if you imagine all those things kind of mapped out, what's going to be really close to something versus farther away. That's probably as mathy as we need to get.
Exactly. Yeah. But tell us what can we do with that? Like, why? What can we actually do with all of this now?
Yeah. So this kind of brings it all together, again, in a very limited way, but just to kind of bring a basic understanding of these concepts into the contest itself is, what can we do here? So let's say we've got documents, and we already talked about, could be reviews, could be chats, it could be support tickets, something like that. So we've got a lot of text that contains a lot of rich data that we can't, we haven't really had a good way to extract out of it yet, or certainly an easy way. So we do that, and then you use AI generate chunks to basically split it to make sure you're feeding it to the model in consumable chunks, and you're not just sending it, thousands and thousands of pages of stuff. We'll then generate embeddings from there, which is basically vectorizing each chunk. That comes back and is stored in SQL as a vector type, which we kind of kicked this part off with. We can then use vector distance to calculate the distance between those two to see if there's semantic similarity or not. And then in theory, our LLM is going to give us an answer that's grounded in not just the information it's been trained on, but kind of up to the second or minute or whatever interval, as there are new entries, new tickets, new chats, new reviews, all of that. And that code sample there is kind of a very simple way of what that might look like in T-SQL itself. And you can see it's doing a lot of cool stuff. It's only 4 lines, so it's not that scary. We've got a couple of new arguments in there and things like that, but we don't have to learn a ton of stuff to start playing with it.
Exactly. Tell us more about the data API builder and the SQL MCP Server.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to see this in here because I feel like Data API Builder is really cool. It gives developers a lot of options to interact with a database if their SQL understanding is not high. I'm glad to see that included here because I don't feel like it's gotten kind of any of the marketing love that it should because it's slick. So this is a great way to kind of learn what that is. And in the context of the contest, what's important to understand is, like it says, this is never writing raw SQL. It's working through Data API Builder to interact with the database that way. So if you're a security-minded person, you're out there thinking like, okay, well, this has the potential to be up to no good. It's going to work within the guardrails of Data API Builder and really can't be up to no good. So what it's going to start is a Copilot agent. So basically something we're going to talk to in a natural way. I feel like at this point, we've all had to learn to talk to agents somehow. And then SQL MCP Server is going to use Data API Builder to talk to SQL Server 2025. That's where our data is. That's where our vectors are stored, all of that. You could use Azure SQL as well. The features are common between those two, but there's 3 things that I want to highlight here. Is number one, as it says, this is read only by design. So I can't nuke anything. I can't change anything. So I appreciate that for certain environments, the right kind of security is being modeled here, because a lot of the AI stuff I think that's come out that people are playing with, it's not secure at all. People are just playing with it to see what you can do. So we're seeing what this might look like in more of a real environment, hopefully. It is per entity role-based access control as well. So we're only exposing kind of the abilities that each role needs. So again, hopefully in your environment, this is roughly the way you'd want this to set up. Those guardrails are really important. We've all seen those stories in the news of an AI agent that doesn't have the proper guardrails around it, that deletes prod data or nukes an entire application or something like that. We're not modeling that kind of stuff here. And this can also work with any MCP client. So obviously we're using Copilot because this is a Microsoft thing, but it could work with Claude, Foundry, all of that. So, once you kind of understand the moving parts, if that's not compatible with your stack, or you feel like there's something else that's going to work better, beyond kind of the core components, you've got some flexibility here as well. Okay, so what is the MCP tool server? Like, what is it going to be able to do here? And one thing I will say about this slide is, before you get into the contest, this was the slide as I was running through this stuff that I'm like, this hasn't really clicked with me. But when you get into the contest stuff, it will. So if you're sitting there saying, well, okay, yeah, I see what's on the slide, I don't know what that means. When you get into the contest, it'll make a lot of sense. So it has a a describe entities call, which, like it says there, you can discover entities, fields, and what it's allowed to do. So if you've seen any demo of interacting with any MCP server, I feel like almost every one of those videos or even live demos I've seen starts with talking to it to say, like, what can I do with you? So we're going to start that way here. We can then ask it to read records as well, which makes sense. We're going to do database thingies. So, we need to read that stuff. We've got some aggregations as well. So we're going to be able to do counts and sums and averages and min-max and all of that. We've got execute entity, which is basically gives us the ability to run a stored procedure that's allowed to be run. So as that shadow box says off to the right, this is constructed to be safe. This is constructed to kind of model something you'd be able to do in your environment that's, going to be pretty fun to do, but read-only and kind of inherently safe, which a lot of this stuff is not. And then there's also a custom tool there as well to find similar docs by doc ID, which is a cosine vector search, which if you looked at the T-SQL a couple slides ago, you saw that kind of called out. And it does a search over the docs that are in the data that's a part of the contest.
Exactly. And just something to add on here, Matt, because as you mentioned, we're doing this using the data API builder. So that means you can extend your MCP tool surface. Beyond this, you can start introducing your own different tools. I would love to see someone introducing a tool in the contest, someone who can be able to add the find similar docs by text. So like I give a text, generates embeddings and runs that. Those are some of the cool ideas. And we actually left that tool intentionally out just to see whether someone can be able to pick up. Guys, I'm giving you ideas. I'm giving you all ideas on some cool ways you can do, because with the data API builder, you can really extend these to very, very many different scenarios.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's such a cool tool and really good to teach our developer friends. So I'm really excited to see it in here, because maybe it's finally going to get the love that I kind of thought it deserved for a long time. But yeah, you can, I know we keep saying it, but you're not in a box here. Like the contest is to come up with clever solutions to this stuff. Don't sit here and be like, okay, well, this is all I can do and all I know how to do. You can come up with some cool stuff.
Cool.
All right. So I'll kind of briefly go over this slide, like what we've got in GA, what's in preview as well. But now that we've talked about the contest for about 38 minutes, and before we get into the demo and stuff like that, who out there is excited? Who wants to enter, win swag? Who's like, please stop talking about math and just get to the contest stuff. Once you get away from the math, then I'll be excited. Any or all of that, go ahead and put that in the chat as well. So what is GA now? What are the parts of this that basically, like, I know some shops have a rule against using things in preview just as a matter of policy. So what's GA is the vector data type itself, the AI generate embeddings and AI generate chunks, create external model, which is basically where we say, here's the AI model you're going to use to create these embeddings for me. We talked about vector distance as well. We talked about hybrid search and the SQL MCP server read tools. All of that is GA right now. What are the preview things that we've gone over? So that's create vector index disk ANN. That's vector search as well. We also, so if you go back and look at the announcements from SQLCon, you'll see some details around what this float 16 half precision vector means in terms of not only the precision of the data that comes back, but also making things computationally a little easier. And then filtered ANN during index search as well. That stuff's all in there, but currently in preview because it was just announced in March, basically. So that's enough math. That's enough slides. Let's see this stuff go.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to switch over to my browser and just kind of go through this. All right, so now here I'm on the repo for the SQL AI Promptathon, and you can see we have two ways you can get started with this. You can do this right in CodeSpaces, or you can do this locally with dev containers. So I'm going to spend the next 15 or so minutes trying to do both of these, trying to show you both of these parts. The first part is using GitHub CodeSpaces. So for this one, you just need to ensure you fork this repo into your personal account, and I've already done that. So this is forked onto my personal account. And once you forked your repo, click on this big green button called, and by default, it's going to be on the local tab. Switch over to the code spaces and then create a new code space. So once you click on create a new code space on main, it's going to create a new code space for you and open that in a new browser. Now, this is going to take a few minutes, 5 to 10 minutes to complete setup. And I'll explain why it might take that long. But I have one that I had done that just before this session. I'd already started one of them here. And what you realize is this code space come pre-configured with a few things. It's gonna come pre-configured with a few extensions. So we're gonna have, let's do refreshing. It's gonna come with a few extension. Okay, let me restart this. It's gonna come with a few extensions pre-installed for you. So these are going to be the extensions you need for this project, like the MS SQL extension. It's going to come pre-installed with Python, because you might need to do some bit of data engineering work, and you will definitely need Python for that. And beyond that, it also comes with a pre-configured SQL database. And the SQL database here also has data that you can work alongside with. So if you want to pick one of the missions and run with that, you can be able to use the data that we've already provided as part of this contest. And back on the repo, you can see the SQL database markdown file. This markdown file provides a guide in terms of the shape and structure of the data that you will be working with. So we've provided some few tables, and beyond the tables, we've also provided you with one of the tables, which is the docs table, that also has vector embeddings for reviews and charts. So you have a complete mini database that has enough information for you to complete one of the missions. And here you can see the different relationships across these different tables. So I'm going to come back here and confirm that this actually works. Yeah. So as I was mentioning, this comes with a few extensions pre-installed. And if I switch over to the SQL Server, the MS SQL extension, I can actually try and connect to the database that comes pre-provisioned with this, and you can do that so that you can just try and access the data that you actually have. So it's as easy as that. It also comes pre-installed with the GitHub Copilot chat extension. And if I switch over here, you can see it does have the GitHub Copilot extension. And if I just sign in, it's gonna sign in with my GitHub account. And then from here, you can be able to start working directly for this mission. So it becomes very easy. You just need like 5 to 10 minutes to get it set up. And once you are set up already, you can go ahead and start completing any of the missions. I just needed to show you the ability to connect to the database. And I had already connected. And if it needs the password, you can get the password for that directly from the Docker Compose file. And here is the password for your SQL database. So you just need this password. And then for the admin username, that's going to be SA. So I'm going to come back here just to confirm that everything actually works. Try, or you can just paste in the password. So that's going to connect, and you can see it connects. And inside here, we have the Promptathon DB. So the Promptathon DB is what you will be working against. So you can see all of that comes here pre-configured. You can see the various custom, the various tables. You can double click that and preview the data as well. Then the next thing to highlight that Matt had mentioned as he was going through his presentation was the concept of the data API builder. And we have the data API builder config file here. And so this config is going to expose some of the tools from the database as GraphQL endpoints. And you can learn more about the data API builder by looking at the official docs on Microsoft Learn. And what you'll see here is we've exposed some of the tools as MCP servers. So you can see, for example, find similar docs by ID. So we've defined it here, but beyond that, it's also exposed to you as an MCP tool. And this is the place I would like to see more of you in your submissions, extending the config file beyond what we've already provided. And why this is important is because this comes pre-configured with an MCP.json file. So this allows you to, this configures the SQL Server MCP that then can be able to connect to your database through the data API builder. So just to reiterate this, your agent doesn't interact directly with your database. It interacts with your database through the data API builder, and that gives you that extra level of security. So one of the cool submissions I'm looking really forward to is seeing more people extending the data API builder for this end. And so if I switch over now, let me expand this in my agent, in my editor, I can easily switch over here and you can see the SQL MCP server. And if I update tools, it should start the SQL MCP server, and then you can be able to see the tools that this SQL server actually exposes. So this takes a few minutes, and you can see you have these tools. They aggregate records, describe entities, execute entity, define similar docs by doc ID, and read records. And you can see you just need to ensure that that is enabled, and then you can begin working with the MCP and I can easily start with something simple as describe the docs table. Describe the docs table in the Promptathon DB. And so if I do that, it should be able to execute these. It should be able to use the MCP server and the tools and execute that against our database. So that's how easy it is to get started, and then you can be able to start using GitHub Copilot directly from VS Code within your CodeSpaces. So that's the first way for you to get started. And once everything is wired up, the next step should be go through the missions that we've provided here. You can either pick a data analyst file, and we have some of these cool objectives that you can try and complete. So we provide you with a background. For example, here the leadership team at Zava believes a product quality issue is hiding in plain sight, and this is based on a previous report. And now your job becomes to go ahead and try to investigate the database and find the strongest evidence of a bugged risk clutter. So pick one of the missions, try to understand the database. You can do that using the MCP, using GitHub Copilot and the MCP server. And you can see if I ask you to describe the docs, it uses the tools from the MCP server, goes ahead and responds against that. Then the other thing to measure, so this is the first part where you can do this by using the GitHub CodeSpaces on GitHub. But again, you might want to pick a path where you want to run these locally. For some reason, you might want to run these locally. And the process for that, again, you just need to clone the repo onto your device. And once you've cloned the repo onto your device, open your repo in Visual Studio Code and ensure you've installed the dev container extension. So you need to just look for the dev container extension. Just ensure you've installed, it should be this first one, dev containers. Install this one on your device, and then the other thing, ensure you have Docker installed and Docker running. And once that is set, you should see this banner right here on the bottom right corner where it says the folder contains a dev container. Just click on reopen in container, and this is going to reopen this folder inside your dev container. So this is gonna, in the background, it's gonna pull the required Docker images, bring them down, set up the SQL Server, seed it with the data that you actually need, and you're all set up. And so it's the same VS Code interface, but now it's isolated from your normal environment. So everything you do here is isolated from your normal environment. And again, it's the same experience as previously. But the cool thing with this one, and again, I would love to see some of you attempt, is the ability for you to bring in even your local models. So for example, you can see I have this Coin 2.5 coder running locally on Olama, and I can be able to use that as well to complete this challenge. So you're not limited using the GitHub Copilot models. You can also bring your own model, bring your own mission, bring your own model, and try and participate and complete in participate and complete in the SQL and AI Promptathon. So that's how you get started. Time might not allow us to complete a mission from end to end, but this is the actual setup that you will be using over the next couple of days to try and complete the missions. Now, if you pick a mission, you walk through it, how does a submission look like? So once you've walked through a mission, you've been iterating over this, the next thing is just go to issues and submit a new issue. It seems like someone has already gotten ahead of us and submitted a first issue. And click on the Promptathon submission, and you just need to provide a mission. So if you used one of our missions from the repository, go ahead and provide the name, the title of your mission. Give us a brief description. What were you trying to achieve with this mission? What problem were you trying to solve? Maybe you want to extend the data API builder. Maybe you want to learn more about the data API builder and how you work that with the SQL MCP. Good. Go ahead and give us a good description. Tell us what harness and model you're using. If you're running this locally, you're using GitHub Copilot with a local model like the Coin model on Olama, or you're using GitHub Copilot with GPT or the Opus model. Just tell us what we're using. And you might wonder, why is this important? Because different models are going to take different turns to achieve to a different solution.
Absolutely.
So we really
Yeah.
want to see. Exactly. So for some people, two people might take the same mission, but the way they complete it will be completely different depending on what harness and what models they actually use to complete that. And then show us a turn-by-turn journey. Why this was so important to us is, anyone can submit a prompt, but we really want to see how you actually work with these prompts. For some people who might pick some missions that they build custom skills. Maybe you want to create a custom skill around the data API builder. That's interesting. We want to see that. Maybe you've created a custom agent that is learning how to interact with the MCP server or with any of the other tools or solving any other problem as you're working through this. We want to see that. And then completion. Did the agent complete the mission or open-ended goal? Yes or no? And just because it's no doesn't mean you won't. You might not win. It might be a no, but you did everything. You had different constraints, maybe with your model, with your harness. Yeah. It's okay. And then maybe you went over, like especially for some of the missions that we provide, like the data analyst mission or the data engineer mission, like you went over and beyond that. Just let us know and then submit. Ideally, we've structured these. Think of it as an interesting way for you to learn, some of these tools, for you to you don't have to build an actual product. It could be you learning how to use these tools, and that's also an appropriate mission as well to complete as part of this Promptathon. So I'm really, really excited, and over here we're really excited to see what you're able to do in the next 4 weeks. Really looking forward to seeing all the cool submissions that you will be doing as well. I will also be participating. I'm not eligible for the prizes, but once in a while, over the next 4 weeks, I'll also be participating in the Promptathon, and I'll be sharing what I've built on LinkedIn, and also I'll be adding that into the samples folder, just so that you can see how well to continue, and also maybe get inspirations along the same. Matt, do you think left anything or anything we would want to share more?
Yeah, I think the one thing I want to emphasize is just this is accessible to anybody, really, no matter what stage of your career you're at. Because, like you said, you don't have to learn to set up any infra. If you're like, well, I don't want to learn how to set up all this stuff between CodeSpaces or running it in a container locally, you don't have to. And then we're dealing with natural language prompts here too. So if you're like, I am brand new to T-SQL, I don't know what I'm doing here at all, that's okay. This is still a fun way to kind of learn all this stuff without having to do the setup yourself. And then, as you mentioned, although I wouldn't wait too long, you'll start to see what people are submitting and sharing and all that. So you might get some inspiration from that, or realize maybe the path you started down wasn't right. But the whole point is to kind of learn what this stuff is. Given the speed at which our industry is moving these days, if you're a little like me and you've been busy for a few months and feel like you might be rough around the edges on any of this stuff in here, this is a great opportunity to have a little fun and learn about it too.
Awesome. All right. Yeah. So again, these are the links to the Promptathon. Save these in case you need them, and also share them with other people who might be interested to learn more about SQL and AI over the next 4 weeks, and also implement these as well. So thank you for hanging out with us. Not sure whether we have any more questions on chat that we would love to answer. But before we sign off, Matt, what will you be interested to see people building over the next 4 weeks?
I'm interested to see what I'm not expecting. Like, I know kind of, having read through some of it, all that, it's like, well, here's what I would do. And I know that there's going to be somebody who comes up with something much more clever than what I would do. And I'm excited to see that because, this will be fun. And I think whether we're actively participating or just kind of going to check out what everybody built, you're going to learn something. Of course, if you just go check out what people built and don't actually submit anything, no swag for you. So you should still play along.
Awesome. All right. Thank you all for joining us, and enjoy the rest 4 weeks, and happy creating with SQL and AI.
Thanks all.
Thank you all for joining, and thanks again to our speakers. This session is part of a series. To register for future shows and watch past episodes on demand, you can follow the link on the screen or in the chat. We're always looking to improve our sessions and your experience. If you have any feedback for us, we would love to hear what you have to say. You can find that link on the screen or in the chat. And we'll see you at the next one.